My family said Christmas was too expensive to host, but when I found out about their secret party without me, I ended years of support and watched their lives completely collapse. I'm Aaron, 33, and Christmas used to be my favorite time of the year. It wasn't about the gifts or the food. It was the one time everyone in my family acted like they still liked each other. We gathered at my parents' house, exchanged cheap presents wrapped in shiny paper, ate way too much ham, and played the same off-key Christmas songs on loop until someone, usually my cousin Jared, knocked over a glass of wine or tripped over the dog. It was chaotic, loud, occasionally passive-aggressive, but it was home. Or at least it used to be. This year, I started prepping early. I got a few thoughtful gifts shipped out. Nothing crazy, just things I knew they'd like. I bought a new immersion blender for Mom because hers had started smoking during Thanksgiving. I got a pair of limited edition sneakers for my sister Emily, who never shuts up about her fashion TikTok. I even mailed a crate of specialty beers for Dad, which I knew would be gone by Boxing Day. I didn't mind spending the money. I've been fortunate. My job pays well, and even though I live in a studio apartment across the state, I always made sure to help out when things got tight back home. Rent, utility bills, car insurance. I'd sent more than a few quiet transfers when my dad would text something vague like, "Can you spot me till next Friday?" It was always no fuss, no drama, just family. So I was shocked when on December 20th, I got a message in our family group chat. My mom wrote, "Hey kids, after a lot of thought, we're canceling Christmas this year. It's just too expensive to host everyone. And with everything going on, we're thinking of keeping it low-key. Love you all." That was it. No calls, no offers to meet halfway, no "we'll make it up to you," just a cold, impersonal message. I blinked at my phone, half expecting it to be a prank or a misunderstanding. But when I replied, asking if they were sure, Emily just sent a thumbs up emoji and changed the group chat photo to a stock image of a sad snowman. I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay, understood." And that was that. I didn't push for a call or guilt trip them. I figured fine, life gets tight, and maybe they just needed a quiet year. I bought myself some groceries, heated up a lasagna on Christmas Eve, and tried to make the best of it. I watched Home Alone for the 15th time, lit the pine-scented candle my coworker had given me, and scrolled through Reddit as the snow fell outside my window. Christmas Day came and went. I slept in, FaceTimed a couple of friends, and spent most of the day trying not to feel too bitter. I told myself, at least you didn't have to fake a smile while Aunt Sherry rants about politics. I tried to be mature, to not take it personally, but it gnawed at me anyway. Something didn't feel right. The silence was just off. It wasn't until around 8 p.m. that night when my phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. Emily had gone live, out of curiosity or maybe some twisted hope that she was just drinking wine alone and bored. I clicked it and my stomach dropped. She was at our parents' house, the same house I had offered to help decorate just 2 weeks earlier. The living room was lit up like a Macy's display, twinkling lights, a massive Christmas tree, tinsel strung across every wall. A DJ booth was set up near the fireplace of all places, and people were dancing with plastic cups in hand. There were at least 30 people in that house, laughing, shouting, cheering as they toasted champagne. "Merry Christmas from the real crew," Emily shouted into the camera, panning across the room. I spotted my cousins, my aunts and uncles, even Jared, who was already red-faced and slurring his words. Someone popped a confetti cannon, and the streamers flew across the room in a burst of gold. I stared at the screen, my thumb frozen over the leave button. So, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about things being tight. It was about me. I don't know how long I sat there, probably too long. Long enough for the lasagna to go cold. Long enough for the candle to burn halfway down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat still, stunned, letting the quiet betrayal sink in. I'd been cut out silently, cleanly, and without any explanation. The next morning, December 26th, I got a text from Dad. No hello, no Merry Christmas, not even a question about how I was doing. Just, "Can you send over the $3,100 for January? Need it by tomorrow if possible." That was it. No mention of the party, no apology, no attempt to lie or even pretend things were normal. Just a cold, dry request for money, as if I was a walking ATM with no memory. And something in me just snapped. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I opened my banking app and started scrolling. I pulled up every recurring payment I had tied to them, the rent I'd been covering. On the second property my dad had temporarily moved into, the cell. Phone plan Emily was still on, the Spotify family account I'd been paying for. Even the utilities, gas, electric, internet, all of it was under my name. All of it was on my dime. I paused for a second, not out of doubt, just to make sure I wasn't acting out of rage alone. But no, this wasn't impulsive. This was overdue. I replied, "Lose my number. I don't fund liars." Then I blocked his number. Then I shut down every single transfer, auto-pay, and linked account. I made the rounds with every service rep, every utility company, every bank associate, explaining the situation. One of them, Susan, from the gas company, even said, "That's awful. I hope you're okay." I told her, "I will be, thanks." I didn't go nuclear. I didn't post a rant online or call to yell. I just cut the cord. Quiet, clean, just like they had done to me. By 7:43 a.m. the next day, my phone had 53 missed calls. I didn't answer any of them, but I did listen to one voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice was shaky. "Please call us. There's been a misunderstanding. Just please call." I didn't delete the message. I didn't respond either because, for the first time in years, I finally felt like I had the upper hand. And I wasn't done yet. I didn't respond that morning. Not that day, not even the next. Every few hours my phone would buzz, blocked numbers, anonymous voicemails even. A few desperate DMs from extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years. One of my cousins wrote, "Hey man, you didn't miss much. It was just thrown together last minute. No big deal." I didn't even dignify it with a reply. I just screenshotted it and added it to a folder I'd started on my phone titled Evidence, because I wasn't just walking away. I was making sure they never did this again. By the end of December, the fallout had officially begun. The phone plan was deactivated. Emily made a dramatic post about how some people just love ruining Christmas and hinted at a betrayal within the family. A few of her followers offered sympathy. Most didn't care. She tried messaging me directly a few times, but her messages bounced. She forgot she was blocked. Then came Dad. I got an email, his last resort. Subject, urgent. "Please, Aaron, just talk to us," it read. It was long, winding, full of phrases like, "You've always been sensitive, and you're blowing things out of proportion." He didn't mention the lie, didn't mention the party, just said they were in a really tough place right now financially and how they trusted me to be there for them like always. He signed off with, "You're still our son. Family comes first." I almost laughed. So now, family comes first, I thought. I closed the email without replying, but something about that last line stuck with me. Family comes first. I kept hearing it over and over, like a slogan they'd only remembered after things stopped going their way. And maybe it would have ended there, just the quiet satisfaction of cutting off the lifeline they assumed would always be there. But then my bank flagged an unusual login attempt. At first I thought it was phishing, but after a quick call they confirmed it. Someone had tried to access my online banking from a known device, an old iPad I'd left at the house during a visit 2 years ago. I hadn't thought anything of it back then, but I'd never logged out. I stared at the report on my screen. Someone had tried 3 times to change the password. I knew exactly who it was. The next morning I drove out. I didn't call ahead. I didn't warn them. I just showed up. Their house looked exactly like it always had. Christmas lights still hanging, drooping, and half dead by now, with a plastic Santa slumped sideways on the lawn. I parked across the street and just sat for a moment. The windows were dark. No laughter, no music, just silence. I rang the bell once. No answer. Then I knocked. Eventually, the door opened. My dad stood there in a wrinkled hoodie, hair unkempt, eyes tired, like he hadn't slept in days. "Aaron," he said, like he couldn't believe I was real. "Where's the iPad?" I asked. He blinked. "What?" "The one I left here. Where is it?" He shifted. We haven't used it. Maybe Emily." "Save it," I said. "I know someone tried to access my bank from that device 3 times. He opened his mouth, then shut it. "I'm here to collect it, and then I'm done for good." He didn't argue, just turned and walked back inside. I stepped in after him just for a second, just long enough to see the aftermath. The house was a mess, trash still in the kitchen from the party, empty bottles on the counter. The vibe was different now, dead, drained. Whatever joy they'd faked for Instagram had dried up the second the money disappeared. Emily came down the stairs as I was leaving. She looked like she'd been crying. She opened her mouth, probably to deliver some half-baked apology or excuse, but I didn't stop walking. I didn't care anymore. I grabbed the iPad off the living room table and walked out. "Wait, Aaron, can we talk?" she called after me. "Just 5 minutes, please." I turned at the door. "I gave you 5 years," I said. "We're even." I left, got in the car, and didn't look back. Back at home, I reset every password, disabled every device, and called. My lawyer friend, Not to sue them, just to get a few things in writing. I wanted everything airtight, no way for them to sneak back in, no loopholes. A few days later, I got another email. Subject, apology. This one was shorter, just a few lines from my mom. We made a mistake. We thought you'd always forgive us. We didn't realize how far we'd pushed you. I'm sorry, we all are. Please, if there's any chance we can talk, I'll listen this time. I promise. I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because sometimes silence is the only language people like that understand. I didn't need revenge in the traditional sense. I didn't need to humiliate them or scream in their faces. I just needed them to feel what it's like to lose something they never thought could walk away. And judging by the silence that followed, they did. January drifted by in a blur of cold mornings and quiet evenings. I kept my head down at work, avoided social media, and made a point to focus on myself. It was strange at first, this silence. No constant texts asking for a little help, no passive aggressive messages about how I never visit, no last-minute requests for transfers, no guilt, just peace. But of course, it didn't last. The first crack came from Aunt Meredith. She called from a number I didn't recognize. When I picked up out of curiosity, her voice came through tight and sharp, like she'd been holding back. "Aaron," she said, "I'm just calling to say I'm disappointed." I didn't respond. I waited. "Whatever happened between you and your parents is one thing," she went on, "but you don't turn your back on family, especially not when they're struggling." I kept my tone even. "Meredith, did they tell you why I stopped helping?" She paused. "They said you had a meltdown over not being invited to a last-minute party, that you're blowing things out of proportion." I let out a slow breath. "Did they also tell you I've been paying their rent for nearly 3 years? That I've covered Emily's phone bill, Dad's gas, and Mom's grocery deliveries while they were posting selfies with champagne?" Another pause, longer this time. "Well," she muttered, "even if that's true, it doesn't justify cutting them off completely." "I didn't cut them off," I said. "They chose to exclude me. I just accepted it." She sighed. "Aaron, you're better than this." "No," I said quietly. "I used to be, but better just made me useful. Now I'm done." I hung up before she could reply. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sad. I felt clean. But they weren't done. 2 days later, I came home from work and found a handwritten envelope wedged in my doorframe. It was from my mother. Inside was a letter, 4 pages long. She had written it in cursive, her attempt at making it feel personal, I guess. It opened with a tearful apology. She admitted they shouldn't have lied about canceling Christmas. She confessed to letting Emily take the reins and not wanting to stir things up by insisting I be invited. She said they knew I'd be upset but thought I'd understand in time. What stuck with me most was a single line about halfway down. "We didn't think it would hurt you so badly. We assumed you'd be used to it by now." I stared at that sentence until the ink blurred. Used to it, like it was normal, like being left out was just a role I should have learned to accept. I didn't finish the letter. I folded it back up, slid it into the envelope and placed it in the kitchen drawer. With a few other things I kept from them, the drawer I didn't open anymore. That night, I received another voicemail. This time it wasn't pleading. It was Dad. His voice was tight, controlled, the way he got when things didn't go his way. "You've made your point," he said. "We get it. You're upset. You want to teach us a lesson? Well, congratulations. Everyone's talking. Your aunt's furious. Your sister's humiliated. And your mother? She hasn't slept in days." A pause. "But don't think you're better than us, Aaron. You're not. You're just bitter. You always have been. And when this phase ends, and it will end, you'll come crawling back, just like you always do." He hung up. I didn't delete the voicemail. I replayed it once, then again. Then I hit save because that was it. That was who they were. Not the tearful letters, not the fake Instagram apologies or vague DMs from extended family. That message was the core. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry I finally stopped letting it slide. The next day, I sat down with a notary. I updated the deed transfer for a small piece of land I had inherited from my grandfather. It was supposed to be passed to Emily after me. Dad had arranged it that way years ago, insisting it stay in the family. But it was under my name now, full ownership. I signed the new paperwork, transferring it to a local children's charity that builds youth housing. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I wanted to rewrite the story. That land, that space, they didn't deserve to touch it. Let something good come from it instead. 2 days later, Emily called from a friend's phone. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail anyway. "You're ruining everything, Aaron. You're being so extra. I don't even know what you want from us anymore." She didn't get it. None of them did. I didn't want an apology. I wanted to not need one anymore. I wanted to stop playing the role of the good son, the guy who always came through, always smiled politely, always funded the lie that everything was fine. The following Friday, I received a final letter. No name on the envelope, just my address handwritten in the corner. Inside was a Polaroid, a group photo from Christmas night. Everyone was there, my parents, Emily, cousins, neighbors, even Aunt Meredith, holding drinks, arms slung around each other, mid-laugh. On the back, someone had written, "We still had a great time." No signature, no message, just that one line. And I smiled because I finally understood. They weren't inviting me back. They were taunting me, trying to shame me for missing their fun, trying to make me feel small for choosing distance over dysfunction. But the truth was, that photo told me everything I needed to know. It meant they weren't over it. They were still thinking about me, still trying to prove something, still scrambling to pretend they didn't miss me. The photo stayed on my kitchen counter for a week. I didn't throw it away, not immediately. I left it there, face down, half curious if they'd send another. They didn't. And over the days that followed, something strange began to settle in me. Not rage, not even sadness, but a strange kind of peace. Like I'd stepped out of a fog I didn't know I'd been living in. For the first time in my adult life, I was entirely free. No last-minute bailouts, no fake apologies. No wondering why I always felt like the one left holding the weight of everyone else's choices. And once that fog lifted, I could see the pattern clearly. It wasn't just Christmas or rent or some Instagram live stream. It was years. Years of being their safety net, their scapegoat, their emotional punching bag. Whenever things went wrong, I was the buffer. When Dad got into a fight with a landlord, I paid the deposit. When Emily overdrafted her account for the third time, I quietly wired her a gift. When Mom wanted to surprise everyone with a birthday cruise for Grandma but couldn't cover all the costs, I handled it. No one ever said thank you. Not really. And now that the well had run dry, they were scrambling because they weren't just missing me. They were missing the version of me they had molded, the one who never said no. I thought a long time about how I wanted to end things. Not just drift away, but close the door in a way that was final, undeniable, and irreversible. I opened my laptop, went into my files, and pulled up the shared Google sheet I'd been using for years to track all the payments I'd sent them. Every rent transfer, every gift I paid off, every favor disguised as just helping out. $1,750 for Emily's braces, $950 for Mom. His outpatient surgery deductible, $8,400 in rent over 27 months, $312 for someone's car repair, still not sure whose. I tallied it all. The final total, $38,076. I stared at that number, nearly $40,000, and I never once asked for it back. So I decided to change that, not for the money, but for the message. I wrote a letter, a real one, printed and signed. And I sent copies to all of them, Mom, Dad, Emily, and Meredith, all the key players in this twisted little performance they called family. Here's what it said. To whom it may concern, you know who you are. This is not an apology nor a plea for reconciliation. This is a statement of fact. Over the last several years, I have financially supported this family in ways no one should have been expected to. I did so quietly, without resentment, and always with the belief that I was doing the right thing. That belief was a mistake. I was not helping. I was enabling. What I received in return was not gratitude but entitlement. I was not treated as a brother, a son, or a loved one. I was treated as a resource, a silent donor to your lives, a background, character in your celebrations, a checkbook disguised as a relative. You lied to me. You excluded me. You gaslit me into believing I was being dramatic for wanting basic decency. That ends now. Enclosed is an itemized summary of the funds I provided over the last 6 years. I am not requesting repayment. Consider it a formal receipt for services rendered. Services I will no longer be offering. Effective immediately, I will no longer be part of this family's group chats. I will no longer cover any expenses, debts, or emergencies. I will no longer attend any events, holidays, or gatherings. I will no longer be spoken of as the one who turned his back. I didn't. You close the door first. Please do not contact me unless it is to acknowledge this letter and take full responsibility for your actions without excuses, without spin, and without expecting anything in return. I have changed the locks on every door you used to slip through. I suggest you do the same for your own homes and your own hearts. Sincerely, Aaron. First attached the itemized payment log and mailed them out certified. 2 weeks passed. Silence. Then a single email from Mom. Subject, just one thing. It read, I read your letter. I don't agree with everything, but I see your point. I just wish you'd said something sooner. We could have fixed it. That was the closest thing I ever got to an apology, but I didn't reply because we couldn't have fixed it. Only they could have, and they chose not to, over and over again. So I did something I should have done a long time ago. I moved. I found a new apartment in a new city. Bigger, brighter, with a second bedroom I planned to turn into an art studio. I started painting again. I reconnected with college friends I hadn't seen in years. I went to therapy. I booked a solo trip to Portugal. I lived. And one morning in late spring, while walking back from the farmer's market with fresh coffee and a bag of tangerines, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I let it ring out. No voicemail, no text, and I didn't care because I knew they were still chasing the version of me they had created. But I had finally become the version of me I wanted to be, the kind who knew his worth, the kind who knew silence isn't weakness, it's clarity, the kind who doesn't chase people who only remember his name when the bills are due.